Sunshine throughout, low humidity. Really a splendid September day. The afternoon temperature about 80 degrees. Great weather for the primary election. Tonight, clear and cool, low 60. It's begun to sound.
It was a beautiful, sunny, bright blue sky day. Everything was going along rather smoothly and well.
On September 11th, 2001, my husband and I was newly married, and I was doing my student teaching in St. Louis, Missouri.
What were you
doing? I was Dean of Students at Pius High School at that time.
Started out like a typical day where I took my son at the time to daycare, who I think he was about a little over 1 year old at the time.
It was a day that I actually normally would have been at work, but I was at home because I had to wait for like a repair person.
I was working as a business ed teacher at Longfellow, and I remember actually I didn't have a class that hour when it first happened, and I always had the radio playing on my prep period, and it came over the radio. So I quickly went and turned on. I had an overhead projector that was hooked up to TV and cable.
Well, I was at McKinley at the time as the day head custodian. I found out about the attacks about 9 o'clock in the morning when I had to call Billings and Grounds office about a work order.
She said, did you see what happened? The plane flew into a building in New York. I'm like, what? And so then we went, myself and two other administrators, we went to a conference room at Pius and turned on the TV that was there.
It was extremely strange in the sense that nobody seemed to know what really had happened, other than the physical event of the plane hitting the World Trade Center.
And while we were watching it, the second plane hit. And so it was a very weird situation because a whole bunch of things go through your head at the same time.
Went into the library and they just kept replaying the planes hitting the buildings over and over again. So kids would come in from their study halls and just watch it. And it was a pretty impactful day. The next day the kids were like in shock. We were all in shock.
You know, it was kind of a weird sense or a weird feeling everybody had, like trying to figure out what's going on and really not sure what to do and how to feel and how to respond.
And I was there early, and I went into the teacher's lounge, and the news was on, and I saw a replay of the plane going into the Twin Towers, and that was scary for me on many levels, not the least of which is I grew up in Queens, New York. Probably a couple hours just watching television. We were like mesmerized by what was happening, so much tragedy, and seeing people suffering and having hard choices to make.
Just completely changed the day at that point.
I felt that this country and the world had forever changed. I never thought that we would completely recover from this situation.
I think we live far more in fear of not just this type of event, but international terrorism.
I mean, it certainly has raised the level of awareness for this as far as safety in general. And I mean, it's safety at your mall, it's safety at the movie theater, safety in your schools, certainly safety at your airports. Because, you know, once upon a time when I was a kid, you know, I'd be at the airport and everybody's sitting around, you know, they're smoking cigarettes, they're smoking on the airplane. Now it's like, now you can't even come through with a bottle of your own water anymore.
Safety now was not a given. It was something that you felt you had a plan for.
You know, the impact of it I don't think was really felt until, for me at least, until a couple of weeks later when you start looking at the gravity of the whole situation and you see the videos and the films and hear the stories from the firefighters and the people in the towers and the families and the impact it had, not just in New York City, but across the country.
You know, you can't live your life based on fear. You know that fear is there and you try to temper it, but I hope you can take that fear and make you appreciate the good day.